Bonjour à tous. Bienvenue dans votre programme en ligne, les discussions d'Eurogip, dont l'objectif est d'aborder les risques professionnels dans un contexte international, en particulier européen. Travailleurs de plateformes, le point de vue de la Confédération européenne des syndicats sur la nouvelle directive. Grâce à la nouvelle directive européenne 2024-2831 du 23 octobre 2024, plus de 28,3 millions de personnes dans l'UE 2022 qui travaillent pour des plateformes numériques telles qu'Uber ou Deliveroo pourraient voir leurs conditions de travail s'améliorer. Cette nouvelle directive européenne marque une étape majeure dans l'équilibre entre la protection des travailleurs et le développement de l'innovation. Parmi les principaux changements introduits figurent des mesures visant à clarifier le statut professionnel des travailleurs des plateformes, souvent qualifiés à tort d'indépendants, garantir un accès équitable aux droits du travail et à la protection sociale, accroître la transparence et permettre un contrôle humain sur les décisions prises par les algorithmes que les plateformes utilisent pour gérer les tâches. Qu'en pense la Confédération européenne des syndicats ? C'est le sujet de l'épisode 3 des discussions d'Eurogip avec Tijark, secrétaire confédéral.
I've been very much involved in this topic for years now. And it's nice to see that it has been developing and progressing in a good way.
Plateformes et travailleurs des plateformes dans l'UE, quelques chiffres. Les travailleurs des plateformes numériques réalisent des tâches pour des clients en échange d'argent. Les plateformes numériques les mettent en relation et organisent le travail effectué. Les plateformes numériques couvrent le travail physique de proximité comme la livraison de repas, des services de transport VTC, des travaux ménagers, du bricolage, du jardinage, du nettoyage, des services de soins, etc. Le travail en ligne comme la traduction, la programmation, la conception graphique, la rédaction de contenu, des micro-tâches, par exemple des tests de logiciels, etc. Dans l'UE, il existe une grande hétérogénéité de situations. Les conditions varient considérablement entre les plateformes et les pays. Il est difficile d'obtenir des données exactes, car de nombreuses plateformes ne partagent pas leurs statistiques. Néanmoins, voici quelques données concernant les plateformes et les travailleurs des plateformes dans l'UE. Les travailleurs des plateformes constituent une main-d'œuvre importante dans l'UE. 28,3 millions en 2022. Ce chiffre devrait atteindre 43 millions en 2025, soit une augmentation de 52% en 3 ans. Sur l'ensemble des travailleurs des plateformes, 7% sont des salariés et 93% sont des indépendants. Parmi les travailleurs indépendants, 19% sont susceptibles d'être mal classés. Une proportion importante de travailleurs se trouve dans une zone grise entre le travail indépendant et le travail salarié. Le profil des travailleurs comprend des étudiants, des personnes en reconversion professionnelle, des travailleurs à temps partiel et des populations précaires ou marginalisées. Certains sont à la recherche d'un revenu supplémentaire, tandis que d'autres dépendent entièrement des plateformes pour leur subsistance. Leurs horaires de travail sont flexibles, mais souvent dictés par la demande et les algorithmes. Le profil des travailleurs des plateformes.
Many of the platform workers are actually young people. Many of them enter this job thinking that it's just going to be something temporary, something on the side, maybe while they're still studying or while they're looking for a real job opportunity. But many of them also stay longer. When we think of the platform workers, we think of the most visible ones, either the delivery riders or the taxi drivers such as Uber. But a huge proportion of platform workers are actually hidden because they might work as cleaning ladies at home, or they provide other domestic services, even care work. During the pandemic, of course, we saw a huge increase of the platform workers. The platform work is still growing, and all the data that we have are changing very rapidly.
Pourquoi une directive européenne était-elle nécessaire ?
We got familiar with the problem of platform work, especially at the national level. Many of the workers did not have the right corresponding to their status, and they had to go to the court to claim their rights. And they were involved in these lengthy procedures that was a huge burden for them and also for the trade unions. Many of the workers are basically not having any of the contracts which of course, put their situation in even more precarious position. Many of them are also migrants. It's a huge proportion of undeclared work, also because it's lacking regulation. It's really using the platform workers, yes, as slaves who don't even understand the algorithm. They don't understand like why the same workers who might be colleagues are having different offers. And there are even more and more cases proving that platforms have been using the personal data of the platform workers. So they have been tracking them even when they weren't working. They have been trading with the data from the different apps and selling this data as well. And of course, this is not something that should be allowed. So here in Europe, we do have workers' rights. We do have labor standards. And of course, the innovation and the technology and digitalization is welcome. But of course, the employers operating in Europe have to fit under the European legislation, and those standards cannot be circumvented. What we saw is that the employers do not want to recognize their role as employers. We believe that every platform worker should have the same rights across Europe, and this is why we called for the European directive that would regulate the platform.
Qu'est-ce que la directive européenne 2024-28-31 va changer?
Now, the directive aims to ensure the level playing field all across Europe to protect all platform workers, or at least the majority of the platform workers, and to put the regulations in place that haven't existed before. Well, the most important part is for sure the presumption of employment. It really says that member states need to design measures that are going to facilitate this presumption of employment. So in practice, it indeed means that workers are going to not be self-employed anymore, but they should have their employment contract with all the workers, with all the social rights. Then the second part is referring to algorithmic management. Here, it's the really groundbreaking provisions that we managed to include in the directive because it ensures the transparency of the algorithm, it ensures the rights of the platform workers and the workers performing the platform work to get the information about the data that is being collected on them, also the personal data.
Transposition et application. Les défis à relever.
It is a huge progress, but the real potential of the directive lies in the transposition, and it lies in the hands of the member states of all of the countries that will still need to transpose and make this directive concrete in terms of the measures they're going to propose and in terms of the protection they're going to provide for the platform workers. Yeah, the European directive presents a framework, and the presumption of employment, it's written in a way that it might be interpreted differently in different member states. This is why the transposition process is crucial. And the European Commission just established an expert group for the transposition. With this expert group, they are gathering the representative of 27 member states and the European social partners. And we're going to look at each and every provision and try to understand it, how it's going to be applicable in all 27 member states. So the directive does provide a certain level of flexibility. It's not restrictive. Member states can adjust it to their national practices, to their collective agreement, to their national law. But of course, the main objective has to be reached. This is that it makes it easier for the workers to claim their employment status. We do believe that there will be countries who will be more ambitious in their transposition. Because we might not be able to secure everything in the directive. There are still some loopholes. And this is why we're going to work very closely with our trade unions in all of the different countries, adopting the legislation without ensuring that there is a meaningful change in the field. It's simply not enough. This is why the enforcement is a crucial point. This is why the labor inspections play a crucial role as well. Because every legislation could be written very nicely, but if it doesn't apply in practice, then of course workers are going to continue to be exploited. Part of the accompanying measures also need to be the education of the labor inspectors, so they will be more familiar with platform work, with algorithms, with possible measures to trigger the presumption of employment.
Une future directive dédiée à la gestion algorithmique?
We are advocating to have a new directive only on algorithmic management for all of the sectors. And we hope that the new commission is going to put this into their agenda as well, because indeed algorithmic management is entering the old industrial relationship. It's not something that we would see only in platform work, but we see it everywhere else. And of course, there needs to be some kind of human in control principle incorporated so that your working conditions cannot be determined by an algorithm. It has to be determined by a real person. It has to be a right that you talk with a real person, not only through the app. You cannot be fired by the algorithm. It has to be a real person that explains why determination of the contract has happened, and so on and so forward.
Nous remercions Tijark d'avoir partagé son point de vue dans ce 3e épisode des discussions d'Eurogip. Nous nous réjouissons de vous retrouver pour le prochain épisode. En attendant, suivez-nous sur notre site web et sur les réseaux sociaux.